Hello everybody, welcome to our Prepositions Reteach lesson. Today we're going to talk a little bit about how prepositions work in sentences and how prepositional phrases can function as adjectives and adverbs. So let's take a quick look here. So here's the first page of the worksheet you're working on. What is a preposition? Preposition is a word that's used to show a relationship between a noun or a pronoun and some other word in the sentence. Usually, the preposition can tell you where an object is in relation to another object. Notice this example right here. The dog is under the bed. The question is, where is the dog? And the answer is under the bed. Now, under shows the relationship between the dog and the bed. This chart right here shows you a bunch of common prepositions. To recognize a preposition, you pretty much just have to know what they are. So spend some time, you can pause the video if you want, to take a minute and look at this chart. Familiarize yourself with some of these words. Now, prepositions never work just by themselves. They work as a part of a prepositional phrase. So, if you take a look at this example right here, people communicate in many ways. In is our preposition, and the whole phrase is in many ways. The object of the preposition is what the preposition is talking about. Ways. Just like in this one up here, under what, the answer is the bed. Let me give you a few more examples of prepositional phrases. Here are some prepositional phrases. First of all, the prepositions here are under, behind, and to. Notice that these all talk about direction. Where are we in relation to something? Now, once you find the preposition, to find the object of the prepositional phrase, you need to ask yourself under, for example, if your preposition is under, you need to ask yourself under what? In this case, it's the sink. It is under the sink. Behind what? Behind the chair. That makes sink and object and chair the objects of these prepositions. Likewise, you would ask yourself to who or what, and the answer here is the bathroom. It's to the bathroom. We're going to the bathroom. Notice that you can put as many adjectives like the, smelly, and dirty in between an object and in between a preposition and its object, okay? So even though it says to the smelly, dirty bathroom, to is not, the object of this phrase is not smelly or dirty. The object is the bathroom. So you have to always ask yourself the preposition what, to what, behind what, or under what. So the part that I've just been talking to you about is the prepositional phrase. The information on the prepositional phrase is right here on your packet. Notice that it talks about how a prepositional phrase consists of a preposition, its object, and any modifiers of the object. The object of the preposition is the noun or pronoun following the preposition. So people communicate in what? Many ways, okay? So ways is the object of our preposition. Now, there is one other thing that sort of makes this complicated, and it is that all prepositions can be an adverb or a preposition. Take a look at this section right here. Sometimes the same word can be used as a preposition and an adverb. If there is no object, the word is an adverb. So here, come along. Along is an adverb because there is no preposition. You can't answer the preposition. You can't answer the question along what. That makes it an adverb. Here, in the second sentence, the messages travel along a telephone wire. Because you can answer the question along what, the wire, that makes this a preposition. I'll give you just a few more examples. Now, when you're trying to figure out if a word is acting as a preposition or an adverb, you have to ask yourself, can you find the object? Take a look at this first sentence. We walked around. So, our preposition or adverb is this word around. Now, can you answer the question around what? In this sentence, no. It just says you walked around. So, if it does not have an object, that makes this one not a preposition, but an adverb. Now, let's look at the second sentence. We walked around the school. Around is still the word that we're looking at, but in this case, because we can figure out around what, that is the school, that makes this one a preposition. Now, there's one more tricky thing. Notice we have in our third sentence here the same thing that's happening. We've got this word around, And we're asking ourselves, around what? Even though in this sentence it looked like they're walking around to the school, around is functioning as an adverb because there is another preposition right here that we can answer the question. We walked to what? To the school. This sentence doesn't actually tell us what they walked around. Now, if you had said we walked around the road to the school or we walked around the bus to the school, then around would be a preposition. But in this case, there is another preposition right here that is taking this object, school, away from around. So as you do these exercises and you're identifying adverbs and prepositions, make sure that you can tell, if before you say something is a preposition, make sure that you can find an object for its prepositional phrase, as in this one right here, around the school. All right, so let's do some exercises and see if we can figure this out. All right, so here are our first exercises. Now, let's take a look. First of all, this exercise A asks us to find preposition and their objects. So first of all, what you should do is underline the preposition in each sentence and then underline the object of that preposition twice. Now, the top of this page has a list of common prepositions on it. It's going to help if you can't find the preposition in the sentence, go up and look at that chart and look for those words in the sentence. That'll clue you off that there's a preposition. I'm going to do the first one for you. People enjoy talking with one another. We are supposed to underline the preposition. Preposition is with. And then underline the object of the preposition twice. So you have to ask yourself to find the object of a preposition with what? What is it that they're talking about? In this case, with is telling us about another. So we'll underline that twice. So you underline the preposition once and the object of that preposition twice. Go ahead and finish this assignment, and then I want you to look at B, recognizing prepositions and adverbs. Now, remember I told you that in order for a preposition to actually be a preposition, it has to have an object. You have to be able to say, what is that preposition telling us about? So here in number 1, it says, I have spoken to you before, haven't I? Now, before is the word that we're looking at here because it's bolded, and you have to decide whether that's a preposition or an adverb. So have a look. Can you tell before what? I have spoken to you before what? Since there is no object here, we can't say it's before something specific. That makes this an adverb. In the second sentence, we have the same word, before. But now I want you to ask yourself, before what? The answer is before the speech. Since we have an object for this preposition, that makes it a preposition. So you'd put P over here instead of A. So try these next two right here and ask yourself, in each sentence, can you say down what? Or to figure out if you have an object for that preposition down. Go ahead and write your answers over here. Pause the video if you need to because I'm going to move on to the next page. Alrighty, here's your next exercise. Now this is just the same thing as happened on the front page where you identify the preposition and their objects. So let's go ahead and take a look here and see if we can find some prepositions. In this exercise, it asks you to underline each preposition once, circle the object of the preposition, and it reminds you that sentences may have more than one prepositional phrase. So I'm going to go ahead and do the first one for you. Of is a preposition, and I ask myself of what, some of what, and the answer is the crew, some of the construction crew. So crew is the object of that preposition. Next we have a preposition near. Ask yourself, near what? The answer is near the tower. Now, one thing I want to point out is that in this entire prepositional phrase of the construction crew, you have two modifiers, the and construction. Now, the and construction, it's not of the or of the construction, it's of the crew. So just the noun at the end of the prepositional phrase is the object of that preposition. So ignore everything in the middle. Remember, to the smelly, ugly bathroom, smelly and ugly are not the objects of the preposition to, but rather modifiers of the object at the end of the prepositional phrase. So make sure that you choose just the object at the end of the prepositional phrase. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you to pause the video, complete these exercises, and then I'm going to move on to the next exercise. All right, here's our next exercise. This one asks you to decide whether or not the bold-faced word is an adverb or a preposition. Write adverb or preposition on the line. Now remember, in order for a word to be an adverb, it has to have an object. So you have to be able to answer the question through, around, or under what. So let's take a look at this first sentence. The bold-faced word is the word through. Now, the question asks you, is this an adverb or is this a preposition? Now remember, to determine adverb or preposition, you ask yourself, does it have an object? So can we answer the question through what in this sentence? No. So that makes through an adverb. You can just write ADV or PREP on the line. That's what I'm going to do. Let's take a look at number 3. Here's the word under. Can you answer the question under what? Yes, in this case, it's under the bridge. So since under has an object, that makes it a preposition. Now, I'm going to give you an example here on number 1. Through in this sentence is an adverb, but if we add this phrase to the end of the sentence, so if we add through the woods to the end of the sentence, and we say instead of the Pony Express got the mail through, the Pony Express got the mail through the woods, then we could answer the question through what? The woods would be the answer to that question. So that would make through a preposition instead of an adverb. But since the actual question does not have the woods on it, then that makes through just an adverb. So if you can answer the question through, under, around, inside, what, that makes it a preposition, but if it does not have an object and it does not have a prepositional phrase, that makes it an adverb. So now I want you to pause the video, go ahead and do the rest of these questions, and I'm going to move on to the next exercise. So this exercise asks you to add one or more prepositional phrases to each sentence. So if you need to, for every prepositional phrase has to start with a preposition. So if you need help, flip back to the first page and choose one of the prepositions off of that list. Now, in order to add a prepositional phrase, you're going to want to pick a noun or a verb in the sentence to modify. In this first one, I'm going to pick the noun telephone. I'm going to write a sentence really quick with a prepositional phrase in it. The telephone in the living room rang. So what I did is to modify the telephone, I added this prepositional phrase in the living room. So I used the preposition in, and its object is room. When you add a preposition to a sentence, if you want it to be a preposition, make sure that you add an object to it. So make a whole phrase out of it. In the living room, under the car, behind the chair, around the school, above the sky, whatever it is, make sure that you have a whole prepositional phrase that begins with a preposition and has an object for that preposition to make sure you do this one right. I'm going to go ahead and let you pause the video, do the rest of these exercises, and exercise B under it is very similar to this one. Please read the directions and make sure you do that correctly. And I'm going to move on to the next lesson on this packet. All right, take a look at this little lesson with me. A prepositional phrase is always related to another word in the sentence. It modifies a word in the same way that an adjective or adverb does. So, in other words, an entire prepositional phrase acts like a single part of speech in the sentence. Have a look at this sentence right here, this example sentence, of the United States. This whole prepositional phrase, of the United States, is modifying the word capital. What kind of capital is it? Of the United States. So, it is an adjective phrase because the word it's modifying, capital, is a noun. Here's 3 more examples of how an adverb prepositional phrase can modify a verb, an adjective, or an adverb. Look at this one. In the summer is a prepositional phrase. What is that prepositional phrase? What is in the summer? Many Americans travel. So since travel is a verb, that makes this prepositional phrase an adverb prepositional phrase. Here's another one. For its public buildings. It's In this case, it's modifying the word remarkable. Why is it remarkable? For its public buildings. Since remarkable is an adjective, which is in turn modifying New York City, that makes this prepositional phrase an adverb, because remember, an adverb can modify a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. Lastly, this prepositional phrase, for such an old plan, is modifying this word well. Well is an adverb modifying the verb works, so that makes this prepositional phrase an adverb. I'm going to give you just a few more examples. Alrighty, here are a few examples. We walked around the school. This prepositional phrase, around the school, is modifying the word walked, which is a verb, making it an adverb. So the whole phrase, around the school, is working like an adverb. Let's look at the next sentence. We walked around the school with the big parking lot. With the big parking lot is a prepositional phrase, and it's modifying school. Now, since school is a noun, that would make this one an adjective. We walked with great speed around the school with the big parking lot. So with great speed is functioning as a single adverb because it is modifying walked again. Notice that you can put two prepositional phrases in a row and they can both modify the same verb. We walked with great speed around the school with the parking lot. So, both of these prepositional phrases are going to be adverbs because they modify verbs. Alright, so this exercise asks you first to underline the prepositional phrase in each sentence, and then if it's an adjective phrase, it wants you to write ADJ off to the right, and if it's an adverb phrase, write ADV. So, in the first one, of a country is our prepositional phrase. Now, I'm going to ask myself, what does of a country modify? What is of a country? Well, it's the capital. Now I have to figure out, is capital a noun, a verb, an adjective, or an adverb? In this case, capital is a noun, and if it's a noun, this whole prepositional phrase is acting like a single adjective, which is modifying that noun. Now let's take a look at number 3, by its broad avenues. Here's a prepositional phrase, and it's modifying something in the sentence. This is acting like a single part of speech. What is by its broad avenues? Well, the word impressed is a verb, so that would make this prepositional phrase an adverbial prepositional phrase. Go ahead, finish this exercise, and I'm going to move on to the next one. All right. Here is the next exercise. This one's even easier than the last one because it's already identified the prepositional phrases for you. All you have to do is over on the lines over here to the right side, answer whether the prepositional phrase is acting as an adjective or an adverb. So here, around the director, you would ask yourself, what is this prepositional phrase modifying? What is around the director? In this case, gathered. It's telling you how the actors gathered. Since gathered is an action word or a verb, that would make this one an adverb. Go ahead and complete the rest of this assignment. Pause the video, give yourself some time to finish it, and I'm moving on to the next one. Here's the next exercises. Placing prepositional phrases. Now, you can put a prepositional phrase somewhere in a sentence that makes it kind of confusing. Look at sentence number 1. The tourists with a special display visited the museum. Now this sentence makes it sound like the tourists have a special display. But we know that's not true, right? It's the museum that's got the special display. So it would make more sense if you took this prepositional phrase and put it at the end of the sentence right after the museum. So you could say, the tourists visited the museum with the special display. That would make a lot more sense. Do the same thing for all of the sentences in this particular exercise. Alright, so here's another exercise about revising sentences with misplaced prepositional phrases. In the first one, here's your prepositional phrase, inside the mall. So because it comes right after bus, it looks like it's modifying bus. Is the bus inside the mall? No. What they did is they waited inside the mall for the bus. That makes a lot more sense. Do that with the rest of these sentences. Go ahead and pause the video, and I'm going to go ahead and explain the very last exercise on this worksheet. This one asks you to add phrases either as adverbs or adjectives. So if you have to add an adjective phrase, as you have to do in the first one, find a noun in the sentence and add an adjective phrase to modify it. I'm going to do city. So in this sentence, I've added the phrase by the water as an adjective that is modifying city. City is a noun. What kind of city is it? It's the city by the water. Now remember, when you have to add an adverb phrase in the next sentence, you can't modify a noun. You have to modify a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. So find one of those words in that sentence and add a prepositional phrase to modify it. Do the same thing for the rest of these exercises, and then you will be finished. Bring your worksheet back to class, and we will check it and revise any mistakes, and you'll have another chance to pass that preposition test so you can move on away from prepositions. All right, good luck.